Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Lori and I wanted to do a video today on divine interventions and synchronicities. So I've had a couple of these experiences in the last 3 weeks, which I'll share about in a second. And as I was experiencing these, one was a really powerful divine intervention with my family, and one was a powerful synchronistic event for my own personal life. And while these were happening and I was moving through them, I began hearing messages from these beings of light that work with me. And they were showing me and telling me the power of synchronicities and divine interventions right now. And what we used to call, or some of us still call, coincidences, right? Much different vibration when you think about and speak out loud about coincidence. Coincidence makes it feel like there's really no power to these events, when there is actually a huge amount of energy and power and magic behind these actual events happening. So let me just start with, first of all, when we come down into a physical body, as a being of light, we design what we want to experience. We design our purpose. We design the guides we want around us. We decide the family, where we want to live, what country or state where we're going to come into, the family members that are going to be in our world, the lessons that we're going to learn. Now, humans have free will, so of course things shift and change along the way. That's the reason for divine intervention and synchronicities, right? Because we have the free will, and God forbid a beautiful being of light comes into a physical form. Watch out, because you're in this crazy dense world where all kinds of trauma and pain and experiences happen that really can veer the light being off course. That's just that's par for being a light being in a human body. You're going to veer off course. Thus, synchronicities, divine interventions. So, 3 things about divine intervention synchronicities. One is that when these beings of light, our guides, our angels, whatever you want to call it, when these beings work through us, they work through the higher self. So you imagine the higher self as the bridge, okay? And it doesn't matter if you're conscious of the higher self or unconscious. So these divine intervention synchronicities have been happening to us, for us, since we can remember. Right? And so it doesn't matter whether we have been understanding that we have a higher self or not. The higher self is always there. The higher self is always working with us. Now, because we are evolving and our consciousness is shifting and more light is coming in, we're becoming more and more aware of this aspect of us. We're becoming more and more aware of this higher consciousness aspect of us, right? It holds a higher consciousness, the higher self. So these beings work through the higher self, and the higher self works through us, okay? So that's the first thing. The second thing, what they were saying is the chances of the human understanding and getting the divine intervention or the synchronistic event that they throw in front of the human or put in front of the human's path is very slim. However, what's happening now is they're becoming more frequent, more prevalent, because we're becoming more conscious of these experiences and we're saying yes to them. We're accepting them. We're moving with them, right? We're saying, oh my God, this just happened. This has to mean something. I'm going to follow it. I'm going to listen to it. I'm going to do it, right? So more of these events are happening because we are listening, and our guides and our higher self and these beautiful beings of light, your star family, is like, oh my God, they're listening. They've got it. Let's give them another one, right? And so there's more of these are coming up. We're becoming more conscious of it. The third thing is that the reason for divine interventions and synchronicities is to continue to move us to the next highest version of ourselves and to keep us on our path, and to remind us of the book that we wrote and designed for ourselves when we came into the physical form. They're signposts, right? These interventions and synchronicities are signposts for us. And it's a remembrance or a reminder for us. Because again, we have free will. And when humans have free will, these beings do not interfere. Your higher self can't interfere. Your guides can't interfere. All they can do is what these beings were showing me is like crossing their light fingers. Like, are they going to get it this time? Are they going to get it this time? And what happens is when we create or manifest or intend for things to happen, a lot of times why the human thinks that it hasn't manifested is because we don't see the synchronistic events or the divine interventions that are coming in to move us towards that manifestation, to move us towards the intention, right? We see it as just a coincidence or something that just happened, and we just keep going along on our path, and we don't recognize, oh, this is a signpost. This is going to move me towards that manifestation. This is going to move me towards that intention. Or what can happen is if you are really off course and you are not hearing and you're not getting the guidance and you're very much off course, right? What they will do is they will do a really powerful divine intervention, which could be something like a car accident or an illness or a disease or something that was like a freak accident where the next thing you know, your world is literally shifted and you don't have a choice anymore, right? Something dramatic happened, a divine intervention happened, and you were shifted and pushed onto a totally different path. That's almost like, listen, you're really not getting it. You're not getting it. You're not getting it. Get back on path. Don't forget what you're here to do. Don't forget who you are. Get going, right? And so everything is perfect. Everything is divine in our lives. And everything is always moving us to the next highest version of who we are, always. And so these beautiful beings around us, our star families, our guides, the angels, our higher self, right? They're all watching. From the moment we came into the body, they're watching. And their role in participation in all of this is to do the best they can in these higher frequencies to keep us on course, right? To keep us on course as much as they can, reminding us, guiding us, shifting us. That's what divine intervention synchronicities are. So here are the two things that happened in my life. So I'll give you the one that happened most recently with my family. I'm not going to go into detail of what happened to this family member, but I'll give you the power of it. So my entire extended family came together, or most of my extended family came together a couple weekends ago. And there was probably about 25 to 30 of us in this weekend experience vacation. And there was one night where we were all together, and it was my uncle had called everybody into the room, and we were having a discussion about how we were all going to meet the next morning, the cars we were going to take. So everybody was in the room. Every single person. Nobody was in the bathroom. Nobody was somewhere else on the phone. Every single person was in the room because they were listening to my uncle tell a story. Not tell a story. Tell us what cars we're going in the morning, what time we're meeting, where we're getting coffee, all this stuff. The details of the morning. So all eyes are on him. And then the next thing you know, there's a horrific experience that one of my cousins has that throws her to the ground, and all of the family is watching this event unfold. And as I'm watching this happen, right, I'm thinking to myself, and I hear her higher self, and I hear her higher self say to me, I had to do it this way. I had to make it this bad. I had to have all of you watch. It had to be in this moment. It had to be now. And I'm watching and I'm looking at this event happening. I know she's going to be okay. But I'm also recognizing the power of the moment. That this moment could have happened at any time during the weekend. This moment could have happened 3 hours ago when there was only four people in the room. This moment could have happened when she was driving in to the city to meet us. It could have happened at any other time. It happened when every single family member was in there so they could witness it. So that there was no more denial about it, right? So that it was in the forefront of everybody's thoughts and everybody knew. And there was a severity around recognizing this condition. accepting this condition and doing something about this condition. It was an intervention by her higher self, which was directly connected to her family of light and her guides. And I knew that her as a human has free will. So she now can do whatever she's going to do with this event. Most likely, she won't understand the power of it. And this is the challenge of being these beautiful guides and higher self and light beings, right? They watch this, they orchestrate this beautiful event in the most perfect moment. The only moment in our entire 4 days of being together where every single person is in the room listening to one person talk, and then boom, this event happens, right? She most likely isn't going to understand the power of it. What's the power? The power is that she needs to recognize this condition and she needs to change her path. She needs to change a lot of things in her life, right? And I recognize this intervention. I recognize the divine aspect of it. I recognize the power of it. I heard the higher self come through. I saw it. I understand that a lot of people aren't going to do that. But that's the challenge of starting to become conscious and aware of these divine interventions, of these synchronicities that happen, is snapping into this higher state of awareness of what is the purpose of this? Why did this happen now? And what do I need to do to put myself back on path? What do I need to do to get myself back on path? Why did this happen? Right? There is a bigger reason for this. And so there's a piece of me that, of course, wanted to say to her, oh my God, do you understand? And blah, blah, blah. And I did say to her, I said, this was your higher self telling you, saving your life. This was your higher self saving your life. I hope you understand the gravity of what happened. And then you kind of just throw up your hands and pray, because there's nothing you can do. And I'm a human being on the planet and there's nothing I can do, right? So imagine our guides and these beautiful beings of light, our star families and our higher self. They're in a totally different state of consciousness. They absolutely cannot interfere and push us and tell us, hey, we did it because of this and this and this, and you need to do this and this and this, and you need to go here. And, they can't do that. All they have is energy. All they have is the ability to bring the energy together to make it happen, to work with the higher self. Always, always for your highest good. Always to move you to the next highest version of yourself. So my cousin, the higher self wants her to move to this next higher version of herself, which is a healthier version of herself. And the chances of that happening, I don't know. We will see. There might be another intervention that happens to get her moving, right? And I'm sure there's a lot of you listening to this that know a lot of people that have had these experiences where something really dramatic happens and it shifts them. And all of a sudden their entire life is taking a different course. And for a lot of those people, there's probably been events along the way that they just haven't listened to, that they just sort of have this tunnel vision of just continuing along and not recognizing these signs that are coming in. It's so important to start to listen. And it's not just listening, it's more than that, it's feeling. It's feeling the power of these moments, feeling the power of these events and taking them really seriously, taking them to the core of you and saying, this is going to bring me to the next highest version of me. Even if it's somebody that walks into your life for a moment, right? Or if it's a letter that you receive or an email that you receive or an opportunity that you're getting, right? Or you got fired from your job. That's a big one, right? That's a doozy. That's difficult for people to understand. That's a divine intervention. If you're fired from your job, that's a divine intervention, shifting you to the next highest version of you. So the second one that happened was earlier this month, or in the beginning of August. So for the last couple of months, let me just do a side note really fast with Divine Interventions and Synchronicities. There is a scale, right, that they hold. So with divine interventions, there can be something like what happened with my cousin, right? Really powerful, really intense. Could be a medical thing, a car accident, that kind of thing, right? Where that really drastically can shift you. Or it can be something like what I'm going to share right now, which is just this beautiful story that it was a manifestation and intention I was creating. And because I was acutely aware of the experience and what was being brought to me, I really held it and I took it and I ran with it, right? But there's a gamut of ways that these things can come into our lives, especially for those of you that are creating and intending and manifesting, okay? These are really, really important parts of being the multidimensional human that we are, is starting to recognize these moments. So the last couple of months, I have been intending to bring in a partner, a boyfriend, whatever you want to call it. I don't have labels, but I've been feeling it. I'm ready. And, I live in Mount Shasta. It's not like there's a ton of opportunity, but I knew that I was ready, and I knew that my guides would bring him to me at the perfect time. I didn't have to worry about the how. I just knew that it was coming. So on August 8th, 2018, I was on the mountain for no reason. There was nobody really there, only a couple of cars, maybe 2 or 3 cars. And I got out of my car to go up on the mountain for a second. And I see this guy walking down and by himself. And there was nobody on this part of the mountain, which is bizarre because usually there's like 50 or 60 people. And I go to the right and there's this bench, and I'm going off to the right. I was going to go to the bath, go pee in the bushes. And I can tell that he sat down, and I was like, that's really weird. Why is he sitting down? Very bizarre. Why doesn't he just go to his car? And long story short, I took some pictures, and I was just kind of walking around in this area. And then I walked back, and we started talking. And I knew within a minute of talking to him that this was him. I knew it. Now, I didn't know major details, but I knew this was the moment. And I knew that this was bigger than what I understood. And how did I know that? I felt it. And I trusted what I was feeling. So a lot of times what can happen is we have these moments and then we don't trust what we're feeling. Or we get scared, we get insecure, we doubt, or we don't even feel it at all. We're just so not conscious of the power of these moments, and we don't take it seriously, that we just kind of let it go. I didn't do that with this, and I wasn't going to. And it wasn't that I was holding anything. I was completely open and free with letting this unfold and be the way it was going to be. So if I ever saw this man again, I was okay with that. But I knew that this was bigger. And I remember sitting on the bench with him talking, and I even said to him, I said, this is much bigger than you and I understand. Like this connection, this coming together, sitting on this bench, the mountain in front of us, the 8-8 portal. And that is a synchronistic event that he designed, that I designed, to move us to the next highest version of ourselves. So it has nothing to do with, so the love part of it, or the boyfriend girlfriend aspect of it, or whatever that partnership is, that's second to the actual purpose that we brought each other in, right? So the reason that we brought each other in and intended for this to happen, and we're ready for this to happen, is because we're ready to move to the next highest version of ourselves. And we're going to come together to do that. And then all the other fabulous things about it that come along with it is great, right? All the other aspects that we get to experience together. And there is no attachment in terms of how long. How long is this going to happen? We don't know. We don't care. We just know that it's going to bring us to the next highest version of ourselves. And I deeply, deeply, deeply know that I had nothing to do with this. I had nothing to do with this other than I was ready. I intended it by saying, hey, I'm ready. This is what I want. And then I let go of any control. I let go of how. I let go of when. I let go of why. I let go of all of it. And that's what we have to do, right? That's how we have to move into these, when we're in these higher states of consciousness and moving into these higher states. It happened fast. It happened fast. And I had a knowingness. It was like, I know that this is going to happen. If I started to spin in the how, if I started to spin into the when, if I started to spin in all of it, it would have taken a lot longer. They need us to get out of the way so they can bring it. As long as we can get out of the way, they'll bring it in. But can you recognize these moments? The point of this is, can you recognize these moments? Instead of just maybe us meeting and then separating and maybe talking, maybe not, like just sort of like allowing it to maybe fizzle. I had an intention. I knew what this was. And so as much as I was knowing that it was going to have a powerful impact, I also held the knowingness that it could be gone in a day. Like, he has free will. He can either say yes to this, or he could say, it's too complicated. He lives all the way in San Diego. It's not going to happen. I'm not doing this, right? So understanding that he's a human with free will, and he easily could have done that. And I had to be okay with that. I had to say, okay, he's got free will. He might not understand the gravity of this. And I have to be okay with that, knowing that they'll bring somebody else in. So these are two examples of, one was a really powerful divine intervention and one was a powerful synchronistic event. Both of them, I was acutely aware of the energies, what I felt during both of these experiences. And so my purpose of this video, the point of this video, is to start to become acutely aware of the events that are happening in your life, and become acutely aware of when you intend something, manifest. I don't like the word manifest, but so I use the word intend. It just feels more energetically aligned. You're intending for something, so you're actually looking into the future, and you can see what the future is already holding for you, which is the now, because there is no time. So you're actually just tapping into another now moment that you're not yet in. That's all manifestation is. That's all intention is. That's why when people talk about manifestation, they say, can you feel it? Can you see it? Can you hold it in your body? Do you know what it feels like? You know what it looks like? You're tapping into a future version of yourself being in it, having it, experiencing it. But it's not future, it's now, because there is no time. But you're tapping into that, and you know that it's happening over here. And all you're doing is bringing that over here to right now, or here to over there. It's kind of confusing. But that's what you're doing. You're tapping into another timeline. And you're saying, I know this timeline exists. I knew I was going to have another man in my life, another partner that was going to move me forward. He was going to play a pivotal role in my next movement and moving me forward. I'm moving myself forward as well. But I wanted somebody to come in to move with me. And so I knew that was happening because I could see it. I could feel it. I saw it over there on this other timeline. And then when the 8-8 came and we came together, I jumped into that timeline. And now I'm living that timeline that I was seeing. I'm now living there. I'm now in that timeline. And then it becomes, what's the next timeline I'm going to move into? All a timeline is another version of you living another aspect of you that you're not there, that you're not quite at. Always a higher version of you, right? A higher state of consciousness, a little bit more aligned, a little bit further along on the path, right? It's these tiny little steps. So you can see just like jumping timeline to timeline to timeline to timeline, right? So all manifestation or intention is knowing, I know this is coming. I know that I'm going to be doing this. I know that I want this. I feel that this is what I want next. You're feeling into this timeline. And then you start to realize, okay, I'm going to be there. I'm just not there yet. I can just sit back and wait because I've already let them know what I want. I've already told them. It's already out there. It's already happened. Here it is. I'm just in a slower space moving, and I got to wait until they bring it together, boom, and then I jump over. Hope that makes sense. And then with regards to these sort of divine interventions like my cousin had, it's one of those things where they are trying their hardest to get her attention, to get her back on track. We're all being guided. It doesn't matter if you feel this. It doesn't matter if you see them. It doesn't matter if you understand them. It doesn't matter if you hear them. It's happening. And how much consciousness, how much awareness can you bring to these events? How much awareness can you bring to what is happening and what they are bringing forward? And saying yes, saying yes, saying yes. So for instance, my cousin having this horrific health scare, right? Can she say, yes, what do I need to do next? Yes, what do I need to do next? Yes, what do I need to do next? What is next? And trusting that they're going to bring the next thing in for her, which is next. Going to a specialist, right? Getting on certain medications, changing the diet, maybe changing her environment. I don't know. They will show her, but she has to be ready. So it's always, always, always comes back to free will. We all have free will. So you can imagine how challenging it is for these beings to work with us, because we are stubborn. We have belief systems. We are stuck in paradigms. We are stuck in programming. Many of us are still holding on to our past. Many of us are holding on to past lives, right? We are holding on to all these things that we think are our reality and that are holding us back from moving on to the next highest version. So, really quickly before I end, what can you do? What can you do right now to assist you in understanding these synchronistic events or these divine interventions? Be acutely aware of how you feel throughout your entire day. That's first and foremost. How do I feel how much can you feel throughout your day? How much can you recognize your thoughts throughout your day? How aware can you be? And what that is going to do is that when you run into somebody, or when you see something, or when you experience whatever it is you're going to be experiencing in your day, you'll be able to recognize the synchronistic event or the divine intervention, because you're going to feel, oh, this feels like it's bigger than me. This feels like it's bigger than me. This feels like it's bigger than me, right? You're going to feel it. You're going to feel it. And then what you want to do is just say yes to whatever it is. Yes to whatever it is, right? Just keep saying yes to it. And listening to what you may hear. Listening to the reasons behind it, maybe, that it's coming in. And remembering that it's always taking you to the next highest version. And these can come in 5 or 6 times in one day for some people, right? Or maybe you have a couple in a week, these synchronistic events. They're becoming more and more obvious to us because we're raising our consciousness and we're more aware of them. We used to call them coincidences. It was a coincidence that this happened. It was a coincidence that this happened. Now we're calling them synchronicities. Now we're calling them divine interventions, because we're acutely aware now, as we're shifting into higher states of consciousness, that it's not us. And that there is something bigger around us and within us that's working. So understand that it's not that we're putting our power out there. You're not giving your power away. You're working, you're co-creating with them. You're a co-creator. The more conscious you become, the more you become aware that you are a co-creator in your life. You cannot do it alone. You're doing it with your higher self and with these beings. You're co-creating with them. That's the whole point. And the more conscious we become of this, the more aware we become of our multidimensionality, the more we realize, why would I want to do this on my own anyway? It becomes a lot easier when I can work with these other beings and with my higher self and with my guides and with the angels. Okay. The other thing they wanted me to share before we go is that there is no right or wrong in any of it, right? There's no right or wrong. There's no good or bad. Meaning that if my cousin doesn't get this divine intervention, it's okay. There'll be another one. So there's no judgment in any of it, right? The man that I met on the mountain, if he wasn't ready or understood the magnitude of what this could be with us, it's okay. You know, somebody else would have come along for him, and then it would have moved. So there's no right or wrong. There's no judgment. And oh my God, there's all these times that I didn't, I should have listened to this time. I should have done this. No. Try not to judge it. There never is right or wrong or good or bad with these beautiful beings and with your higher self. Your higher self doesn't do good or bad, right or wrong. All your higher self cares about is moving you to the next highest version of you and connecting you to your divinity and your light. Okay, so I think that's it. I think that's all I have. Let me know how this resonates with you guys in the comments below. Thank you so much for being here and for watching my videos, of course, for being on the planet and for volunteering to be in a physical body right now and waking up and remembering. Thank you so much. If you like this video, please click the little like button. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't. Pass this video along to anyone that might need to hear this message. There are no coincidences. It's all synchronistic, right? So maybe you're listening to this right now because somebody else needs to hear it and hear the message. Hope it made sense. And I will connect back with you all for the next video, whatever it may be. I love you all so much, so much. Thank you so much for everything that you're doing on the planet. Whether you know you're doing it or not, doesn't matter, you're still doing it. And I'll see you next time.